3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, my name is Natia and welcome back to Lady and the Trash. So, on November 1st, 2020, it was still Halloween for me in Italy, but never mind. The GMMTV YouTube channel decided to upload every single Our Skyy episode simultaneously. Each episode divided into 4 parts. So, as you can imagine, my YouTube home was a mess. Actually, I wrote this video almost 2 years ago now, but I never recorded it because at that time, Our Skyy was already outdated. But I think now it's time to resurrect it. First of all, what is Our Skyy? Our Skyy is a Line TV original GMMTV miniseries composed of 5 self-contained episodes. Every episode features a famous GMMTV BL couple as the main, and each one is a sequel to the original story. These are the 5 couples. Pick and Rome from Senior Secret Love Puppy Honey, In and Sun from My Dear Loser Edge of 17, Mock and T from My Tea or Cause You're My Boy, Pete and Cow from Kiss the Series, Dark Blue Kiss and Kiss Me Again. Not in this order, but never mind. And last but not least, Kompop and Atit from Sotas and Sotas S. I decided to rank them from the one I like the least to my favorite one. This video will mostly be spoiler-free. If I will have to do minor spoilers, I will tell you. I start by saying that the ranking isn't based on how much I like a couple, but I'm judging the episode as a whole. Let's start. At position number 5, we have Pete and Cow's episode. If you watched my Dark Blue Kiss review, I amply discussed why the whole Kiss the Series and sequels continuity didn't really work. So I'm not going to dwell on this, but let's just say that we can't even understand where to put this episode in the plotline of the rest of the seasons. So it feels more like a standalone with little to no connection with the others. If you want to know more about the continuity issues, I suggest you to go and check out my Dark Blue Kiss video. Apart from that, I'm still not a big fan of this episode. It's not that bad, but the plot is so random that I was confused for the whole episode. So basically, Cow bumps into a fortune teller who tells him that he will break up with his boyfriend soon, and also lets him know what to do in order for it not to happen. Cow and Pete should do things like holding hands every hour, moving by bus instead of by car, buying a plant for some reason, and stuff like that. So Cow has to convince Pete to do all these things so that they won't break up. Kinda nonsense, but still acceptable. The problem for me is that the script clearly didn't reach the 40 minutes length. So they added plenty of flashbacks of scenes we have already seen like 3 minutes before. But the thing that doesn't really work for me and makes me not like this episode too much is the characterization of both Pete and Cow. I felt like they randomly switched personalities. Pete acting all tough, like he doesn't care and not wanting to touch Cow, and Cow insisting on making physical contact in public. Like, what? And you could tell me, okay, but maybe since they got together, they changed. But then Dark Blue Kiss came, and their personalities were exactly the same as in Kiss Me Again. So it's like they changed only for this episode. Also, the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, Dark Blue Kiss was announced before this episode was released kinda made it meaningless. The other 4 episodes are meant to be the closing of the couple's storyline and give them a permanent happy ending. But with the existence of Dark Blue Kiss, this episode just doesn't need to exist anymore. I mean, didn't GMMTV have like any other BL couple to give this episode to instead of Pete and Cow? I don't know. In conclusion, it felt like they didn't even try with this one. The screenwriting was lazy and I was pretty disappointed. Don't get me wrong, it's not horrible, I don't hate it. It's cute if you miss them and want to see them once again, but that's all. At position number 4, we have Pick and Rome's episode. This was weird. Let me explain. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Papi Hani. It was kind of a big deal back when it was the only Afghan content we had. But then luckily Theory of Love came, so people kind of forgot about it. Understandable. It's not that bad, but I wouldn't say it's a good series. But let's just say that the screenwriters decided to add to this Our Skyy episode the fantasy element, which has nothing to do with the original series. Basically, it's a body swap episode. Peek and Rome accidentally switch bodies after meeting a weird kid at the beach. He was like a ghost or something like that. So now they have to find a way to switch back. And while doing so, they have to act like the other person so that no one realizes something's wrong. The episode is certainly funny and cute, but I found it pretty random and pretty useless. At least Peek and Rome are in character, and I had a lot of fun watching off pretending to be Rome, pretending to be Peek, and Gun pretending to be Peek, pretending to be Rome. Does this make sense? I don't really have a lot more to say about this one. It doesn't really make sense, but at least it's entertaining. At position number 3, we have the story that made me worry the most before it was released. And I'm talking about In and Sans episode. I was worried because out of the 5 couples, they were the only one who didn't become canon at the end of their series, which is My Dear Loser Edge of 17. They also appeared in episode 8 of My Dear Loser Happily Ever After, but even there, they still weren't officially a couple. At that point, at least, it was obvious that In finally accepted Sun's feelings and was about to reciprocate them. I mean, I took it for granted that they would have become an official couple within maybe 1 or 2 months at most. So when they were 17 and still in high school. But at the beginning of the Our Skyy episode, they are in university. Something like 2 years passed and they're not a couple yet. Not only that, they are at the same point we left them years before. They tell you that they tried to make things work, but then In was embarrassed to tell other people he and Sun were a couple. And I can understand that, but then they went a step too far. In asked Sun to help him get a girl. Seriously, In? Again? A whole season of slow but well-conducted character development destroyed. Congrats! But let's move on and let's talk about what actually happens in the episode. Basically, In is finally sure he wants to be with Sun and wants to ask him to be his boyfriend. But now there's this senior in Sun's university who is clearly in love with him. So In gets jealous and stuff like that. The episode is cute and finally marks the turning point for this couple. Of course, if you haven't seen the original show, then there's absolutely no reason for you to watch it. But if you did and wanted them to have a happy ending, like I did, then the Our Skyy episode is exactly what you needed. What bothered me the most, minor spoilers, is the lack of a kiss scene. If you watch my videos, you know that I really don't care about kiss scenes and stuff like that. But here, they spend the whole episode creating quote-unquote moments and making you believe they're gonna kiss. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, but it never happens. So you just accumulate more and more tension every time, thinking, okay, it's obvious, now they're really gonna kiss. But every time, they don't. I mean, if you're not going to put a kiss scene, it's fine. But don't make the audience believe it's gonna happen every 5 minutes when it doesn't. That's all. Now, let's move to position number 2, which is Mog and T's episode from My Tea or Cause You're My Boy. I'm so happy to talk about this episode because it warms my heart and I love it. Let's start by saying that the original show is a mess. There's barely a plot. It feels like the scenes are put together without any logic. And after 4 or 5 episodes, I wanted to skip most of the scenes actually. Frank and Drake are really cute and soft, but my tea is a definition of a mess. And I can't find a valid reason for someone else to watch it. Okay, now take everything that I said about my tea, reverse it, and you have Mock and T's Our Skyy episode. This episode is the proof that Drake and Frank can do a brilliant job when given good material to work with. The plot is very simple. They are in university and it's almost their 3rd year anniversary. Both Mock and T would like to prepare the other one a surprise. T asks Mon, Mock's younger brother, horrible idea, seriously, while Mock asks a girl who is part of the school band. Or maybe she was even the leader of a school band. I don't remember. Which of course will make T jealous, since Mock can't handle the situation without creating misunderstandings. This episode has 2 great perks. First, Mock and T act like an actual couple. While watching this episode, I could believe that they've been dating for years, which is not that obvious since GMMTV isn't the best at portraying established relationships. Mock and Sun make a lot of physical contact. Sun? Did I say sun somewhere else? No, I don't think so. Okay. Mock and T make a lot of physical contact. Not only when they're alone, but also when they are in public. They're not ashamed of holding each other's hands or letting other people know they're a couple. Every time one of them has to go somewhere else, Mock kisses T on the head. And God, they are too adorable for this world. Second, this episode shows how important communication is for a couple. Because, minor spoilers, Mock and T don't let, not even for 1 second, a misunderstanding destroy their relationship. This plot device is often used to make the characters fight or break up. But Mock and T immediately try to clear things up. And maybe it's because it's only 1 episode, so they didn't have a lot of time, but I still think a lot of on-screen love stories should learn from them. When Mock realizes that T misunderstood his relationship with the girl, he tries to go and talk to him. And most importantly, T lets him explain, something that 99% of the times doesn't happen. I recommend watching this episode even if you didn't see the original show. You don't really need to watch it to understand what's going on here, and it would be a shame to not give it a chance because it's so cute. And we're finally at position number 1 in my ranking. Of course, I'm talking about Kompop and Atit episode. I don't know if you know, but Sotas is my favorite BL, alongside with Theory of Love. So my expectations for this episode were super high. I liked Sotas S2, but I think it's not at the same level as the first season. Mostly because I often couldn't believe that Kompop and Atit were an established couple. They acted more like they've been dating for a couple of months instead of something like 2 years. And overall, Sotas S's plot was weaker according to me. I personally believe that their Our Skyy episode was better than the whole second season at portraying Atit and Kompop's relationship, making them look and act like a couple without changing the characters' personalities. Of course, they don't act clingy and they don't spend their days making out. But in this episode, they show the little things that, according to me, are crucial to make an on-screen couple believable. This episode is marvelous. Both Singto and Christ did a terrific job, and it's a perfect ending for this very beloved couple. But let's briefly talk about the plot. Kompop is waiting for the results of his application to go to study to China. Atit fully supports him and is very proud of him. But after Kompop tells him he actually got the scholarship, Atit is happy, of course, but also starts worrying about the future of their relationship. What I liked the most about this episode was Atit's development. Kompop has always been my favorite in the couple, but in this episode I felt a strong connection with Atit. I mean, I used to like him also in Sotas and Sotas S, but not gonna lie, there were parts of both seasons in which I would have just slapped him so hard. Even though I've always been able to sympathize with him after all. But here, I didn't only sympathize with him, I could actually relate to him for the first time. His actions, his fears, his worries felt so concrete to me. So great job, screenwriters. And last but not least, I wanted to give a shout out to Prem, a character that had a lot of potential but never got the development he deserved. But here, he was essential to save Atit and Kompop's relationship. Thank you, Prem. I love you. Okay, I think that's all for today's video. Leave a comment telling me which episode you've seen and what you think about them. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!